by Mr. Skinner.
Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, bless those who are gathered here today to offer their thoughts and ideas for the good of our community. A special thank you goes out to all of our veterans for their service and preservation of our right to vote. We also ask that you grant all our citizens peace, prosperity, and well-being in their lives. Please instill in this body the integrity, perseverance, and wisdom to effectively govern Spotsylvania County. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We have for your consideration this afternoon's consent agenda. Item 2 being the approval of the minutes of your October 27th, 2015 Board of Supervisors work session. Item 3 being the approval of a purchase order contract to McClung Logan Equipment for a new landfill compactor. An IFB was issued on September 21, 2015 to solicit bids for qualified vendors for a new landfill compactor. 2 bids were received for this procurement at $983,304. The lower was McClung Logan. And this lower bid of McClung Logan's, I should say, at $893,294. As memory serves, this is a replacement of a piece of equipment that sadly burned up in use. Item 4 is approval of a contract renewal for DJG, Mosley Architects, and Peck Associates. These are requests for a proposal that was issued in June of 2014 to solicit proposals for qualified firms for professional architectural and engineering services for various CIP projects. Contracts were awarded to DJG, Mosley, and Peck on November 14, 2014. And this is the first renewal of a 4-year renewal option on those contracts. Item 5 is a budget amendment for the Magistrate's Office security camera replacement. In September of this year, the security camera covering the front entrance of the Magistrate's Office stopped functioning, and I directed its replacement. Information Services determined the best solution was to replace the camera, as the camera was no longer under warranty. A quote in the amount of $1,961 was obtained to install and configure a suitable replacement. The board's requested to approve the transfer of that amount of money, $1,961 from the general fund to the contingency to the Magistrate's Office to cover this expenditure. Item 6 is budgeting of local emergency management grant. From July of this year, the county submitted a grant application requesting $40,578 in federal funding. Of this amount, $18,078 was requested for salary and fringe benefit costs associated with the Division Chief of Emergency Management. In prior years, the county has received a grant award so that the FY16 adopted budget should have included as revenue the personnel portion of this grant, or $18,078. Instead, the full $40,578 in grant revenue was budgeted in the FY16 adopted budget, and only the personnel portion of the expenditures was budgeted. And this is simply an adjustment that needs to be made in the budget for the $22,500 in non-personnel items to be covered with grant funds. Item 8 is a transfer of drainage program funds from code compliance to capital projects. This is a budget adjustment for a stormwater drainage program that dates back to 2004. And this is to move the balance of funds in that program in order for them to be used for their intended purpose for small capital projects. Projects will be brought to the Board of Supervisors for approval prior to any work being performed and the cost being incurred. Finally, item 7 that I skipped past is a resolution to transfer a dedicated right-of-way of Holly Drive to the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Transportation. On June 28th of 2011, the Board of Supervisors approved a resolution for Spotsylvania County to administer a VDOT Secondary Rural Road Addition project, including Holly Drive. County staff has completed acquisition of the dedicated right-of-way for the road project and needs authorization to transfer the right-of-way to the Virginia Department of Transportation.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yes, on this transfer on Hawley Drive, I would like to say a few words to the general public so that they understand what's going on. We have a lot of dirt roads in the county in various districts. Hawley Drive is the first one recently to come up to what I call full fruition, and that is turning it over to VDOT for their taking care of it, paving it, making it better for the citizens there. This process has taken approximately 5 years till we got all of the property signed off that allowed us to do this. And the citizens were very frustrated. That's why I'm bringing this forward to those of you out there who live on dirt roads, not currently into the system or being processed to go into the system. It is a long process. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And we have a prioritized list that's available for scrutiny. And this will give you a better idea of when your road might come up for fixing, if you will. Hawley Drive will probably be paved to rustic rural in the spring when the weather permits laying of asphalt. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the general public so that they understood this process and didn't become overly frustrated with it. There are roads that have been on the list for 15 years. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the county administrator.
Are you complete? Any items need to be removed? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Six yes, with Ms. Heidig not present.
Next up, Rose Hayward, our HR director, is here with the Employee of the Quarter recognition.
Oh, actually, we have public presentations. Amy,
I
has
apologize, Mr. Chairman. Yes, public presentations, of course.
Amy, has anybody signed up?
Yes. Kat Walker.
Please come forward, state your name, address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Hi, Kat Walker, Wallers Road, Partlow. And Mr. Sabula is my supervisor. And I'm here tonight to talk about sludge, and I brought show and tell. And back in the summer, Delegate Fowler arranged a tour of the DC wastewater treatment plant up in Blue Plains, And at the end of the tour, we asked for a sample, and they gave us one. And they gave us all samples. And these are the samples. I'm not going to open it up, and a few weeks later, we toured the Henrico County wastewater treatment plant, and my delegate, Mr. Sevilla, came along with us. And we were also very graciously given a tour of that plant, and at the end, we asked for a sample. And we were told no. And that really explains the difference between the Blue Plains plant and the Henrico plant. Blue Plains makes Class A exceptional quality biosolids, and they are not afraid to give people samples. They don't normally do that, from what I understand, but we were free to have one. And at the Henrico plant, we were told we can't do that. And in fact, at the end of the tour, our tour guide ran into a area where there was a zinc and just scrubbed down his hands because he had picked up some of the Class B biosolids that they make at Henrico to show them, to say, to have us look at them. So I think that explains pretty well the difference in Class A biosolids and Class B biosolids, and why some of us are so adamant that Class B biosolids not be put on fields where we live. And that just says it all in a nutshell. And also, I see I have about 30 seconds left. I'd like to comment briefly about Lake Anna and perhaps and I'll speak about this more in later months perhaps, that the Department of Health has maps on their website that shows that Lake Anna has high concentrations, too high concentrations of PCBs and other chemicals, and so they restrict the catfish from being, and some other fish from being caught. And I was just wondering if there was a possibility of getting some kind of signs that on the fishing areas across the bridges, so people know that you can eat certain fish, but there are restrictions. They suggest that you not eat them more than a few times a month. And I'm not sure if people realize that. Okay, thank you all very much for listening.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Ma'am, can you step back up here for a second? This is my time, not yours. So you've got me curious. So you've brought the sample. What do you have there? And what did it come out? I mean, I don't want you to open it. Can you explain what the sample is? And is there something that we should know about that sample?
I mean, you can look at it if you want.
But, well, what do you think of that sample? Let's put it that way. Is that detrimental to anything that we've got?
This is the Class A exceptional quality.
Okay.
And no, I can pass it around if you like.
No, I just wanted to understand what you had there, and you brought there, and obviously that is acceptable to our locality, the Class A.
Yes.
So the citizens understand that too. And
Yes,
it's Class B that we are a little concerned about.
What I'm saying is that they feel so confident in their Class A exceptional quality that when we asked for a sample, they willingly gave everybody a sample. But we went down, when we finished our tour at the Henrico wastewater treatment plant, which makes Class B biosolids, which still have, according to the EPA, Class B still has pathogens, detectable pathogens. They would not give us samples. And to me, that illustrates the difference between Class A and Class B, and why, if they won't even give us a sample, why should we be putting it on fields?
Yeah,
But the
okay.
Class A, this is Class A.
And that's what I needed to know. Okay.
Yes, this is Class A.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, Amy?
No, sir.
Anybody else here wish to speak on an item that's not on the agenda today? Please step forward. Name, address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Mary Lou Collier, Mr. Skinner's district. First thing I wanted to talk about is the railroad tracks, Mine Road and Benchmark Road. There are 2 stop signs and 2 different traffic, and those crossing the track supposed to have the right-of-way. Well, I just happened to not get the right-of-way on the track, and a truck decided he didn't want to stop at the signs, and I'm stuck on the track, and then the gates are starting to come down, and I'm seeing the train. So in light of the VRE opening up, that's going to be a contentious area of excitement, people rushing to get to the train station time. I have a feeling that they're not going to be stopping, and people are going to be crossing the tracks, and it's just going to be a dangerous area. So I was hoping that maybe the board can encourage the police department to surveil the area and check it out during the morning times and the evening as the trains depart and arrive. It's quite dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Seeing nobody rise, we'll move along on the agenda. Mr. Taylor.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, now we have employee, HR Director Rose Hayward, and the employee of the Court of Recognition.
Good afternoon.
I'm pleased to present the most recent recipients of the Employee of the Quarter Service Excellence Award. The first for public safety goes to Battalion Chief Terry Snellings, and I'll just read a brief excerpt from the nomination form. Chief Snellings has a tremendous amount of institutional knowledge. This is key in providing excellent customer service on a global basis. Recently, Chief Snellings has been involved with the purchase of specialized breathing apparatus used in the department. These specialized pieces of equipment, called a self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBA, are the life's breath of firefighters while working inside smoke and toxic environments. Chief Snellings worked with the SCBA company and local distributor to obtain the most up-to-date SCBA and a process for maintenance on them as well. In addition, he was able to secure remote air filling stations located in the fire rescue companies, and he was able to assist in getting to mobile air filling units to take to scenes to assist firefighters. With his assistance, these needed pieces were included in the purchase package at no extra cost. Chief Snellings directly impacted the county fiscally by working with the company and distributor to obtain these valuable items. This saved approximately $422,000. It's my pleasure to present the general government recipient to one of my staff employees, Beth Ann Reinhardt. Beth consistently produces high-quality work on time and within budget. She's played a pivotal role in management of our county benefits. She's become well-versed in healthcare reform and has led the county in developing processes and systems to ensure compliance with the Affordable Care Act. Beth handles her work with pride. Her eye for detail, keen understanding of policy, and capacity for data analysis is often the basis for decisions that have far-reaching implications. Her work informs decisions that are made by this board of supervisors and county administration and has impacts for all of our employees and retirees. Beth has demonstrated a commitment to excellence and a heart for service that is to be commended. She has served faithfully for over 20 years and is well deserving of this award. I'd ask now that Battalion Chief Terry Snellings and Ms. Beth Ann Reinhardt come forward to receive their recognition from the board.
Next up, Mr. Chairman, is the vote on land use case R14-0013, Michael A. Jones and S. Craig Jones, retreat at Chancellorsville North, and that's in the Cortland District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You'll recall this item was before you on August 11th and tabled the vote for the county to complete a traffic study of the proposed development in the surrounding area. Also, the board requested revisions to the proffer statement with regards to the unit caps of the residential and assisted living facility. You'll see before you a redline version of the proffer document, which includes all revisions since the board's meeting in August. In response to the board, the applicant has put forth to allow 192 residential units, which can be comprised of either detached or attached, or a 500-bed assisted living facility, but no combination thereof. At this time, I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Dan Cole, our traffic engineer, to go over the traffic study.
All right, good evening. I was asked to look at traffic issues in the vicinity of Spotswood Furnace and Quarter Road, and in particular the two schools, Chancellor Elementary and Riverview High School. And this is just a brief summary of those findings. At Chancellor High School, there were some issues both during arrival and departure times. Chancellor High School is located on Quarter Avenue. In the morning, there was an occasional backup, a spillback problem that related to Route 3.
Mr. Cole, are you referring to River Bend High School?
Chancellor Elementary
Oh,
School.
Chancellor Elementary now, okay.
Basically, it was, the backup was related to what I thought would be maybe timing on Route 3. There was, it was during the morning period, the right turn lane on westbound Plank Road sometimes was blocked by vehicles of parents dropping off children at the school in the first parking lot that was closest to Route 3. Anyways, it's a very short period of time that the blockages occurred, but basically between 8:12 and maybe 8:30. The other issue at Chancellor Elementary School occurred in the evening. That was related to really confusion over parking signs. There's parking is permitted on the east side of the street, although it's fairly confusing there. And on the west side, there is no parking. And what happens during the evening period is that you have motorists parking on both sides of the street. So my recommendation would be to maybe have VDOT either place some additional signs out there to make it a little less confusing. At Riverbend High School, there was also a spillback problem. Southbound traffic on Spotswood Furnace Road would create a delay actually for buses waiting at the T intersection leading to the high school bus lot. But again, this is a very brief period, and it was generally caused by other motorists other students basically using the two parking lots, stopping and turning in and making it a little more difficult for the buses to get through. In the afternoon, the southbound approach on Spotswood Furnace Road and Route 3 operates poorly with delay for vehicles waiting at the traffic signal. And this problem is due to a huge dump of traffic that occurs during the flagging operation. But again, it's a very short duration where that delay occurs. It's basically a 15-minute period between 2:20 and 2:35 p.m. Again, just to reiterate, both these problems at the schools occur in a very short duration, and they also occur during non-peak times. In the course of looking at the two schools, I also looked at a potential third problem on Middleton Road, the cut-through traffic. Middleton Road is a road that connects Spotswood Furnace with Quarter Avenue. Basically, what I did was to take traffic counts before and after conditions. And what I found was that there was a slight increase before school started. And there was the beginning of the year, there was 3,032 vehicles recorded. And when school started in September, there was a slight increase of 3,669 vehicles. So it wasn't a significant increase, so I also took so what I did is took a spot count during the period of 2 to 3 p.m., which was when the schools were dismissed at Spotswood Furnace. And what I found was basically during a 15-minute period, that was when most of the traffic used that road. So again, that traffic was when they came out of the school, instead of turning left to go to the traffic signal at Spotswood Furnace, some of them were turning right and going down Middleton to Corridor Avenue and proceeding that way. I have a number of recommendations that I made on at the end of the report. Basically, the additional parking signs for the Chancellor School would really help to resolve some of the issues there. And as far as the Riverbend High School went, there was some discussion earlier in the year with the Transportation Committee about opening up the old Riverbend High School entrance on Route 3, and that might help relieve some of the congestion during dismissal at that high school. And this study is, I assume, is in your packet. Anyways, as it relates to retreat at Chancellorville, I did not find any really significant issues that should impact your decision on that particular development.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Ross?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Dan, what was the 2 to 3 p.m. count down Milton? Do you have that handy? Was it significant with around 600 trips?
No, that was for a 1 day. That was for a 1 day period.
Okay. But did you just do a 2 to 3 p.m. spot count?
Yes, I did, and I do not have that in here. I don't have it in here. I can provide you with that, I guess.
Well, I appreciate the traffic study. And then as far as the signs, have you already initiated that with Sean Nelson, or is that something that the board needs to take up? Or,
I have talked to Peter Hendrich about that, and so I guess he's going to look into it.
And what about the old Riverbend High School entrance there? Like, for instance, to me, just hearing your report, and thank you, staff, for doing the report, because I think it does provide a lot of insight. It would be better to open that up than have 700 additional cars during the day, which I'm assuming cut through Middleton while school's in session. How do we go forward with that? Is that something to work with VDOT as well?
Yes, that would be an issue with VDOT.
Okay. So if I could ask staff to coordinate a meeting with Sean, or maybe we could reach out to him the next time we talk to him too.
Thank you. Any other questions for Dan? Mr. Skinner?
Just a question probably for you, and that is, can you refresh us? Is there any reason why that either had to be one or the other, that it couldn't be some restricted age, and single detached homes?
I think I might have the answer to that.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. So basically, this is a downzoning, and it was a 500-bed facility, or it still is a 500-bed, and they want to keep that. However, the concern was that you would have the 500-bed and another 192 homes. So that's why they've separated it out into two different, and either or, instead of an and.
And the reason I ask that is because I think we've seen where both a single detached home and a restricted age living actually work together, because some of the, and I just didn't know if it was a requirement or if we had an ordinance says we couldn't do this, or was this just a decision made by the applicant, or?
I think the applicants agreed to this, and you're more than welcome to come up. But I guess where it comes from, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you didn't want a 500-bed and then an additional 192, which would not be a downzoning, to be the opposite.
Correct.
So I think
could
that's
it be a combination? That's what I'm saying is, but it could have been a 250-bed with.
Well, actually, the 192 is a combination of either 198 or 192, but then not a combination with the 500-bed too.
Right.
So,
Okay, thank you.
did I answer it right? No? Go ahead. You answer it.
Well, the original proffer did allow for a combination, and it would be, it actually said 110 detached units, 192 attached units, or a 500-bed assisted living facility, or a combination thereof not to exceed 500 units. And then it was at the end of the public hearing, and I think listening to some of the concerns of the community where the board recommended or asked if the applicant would be willing to do either a residential component or the assisted living facility, but no combination. And the applicants complied with that request.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Motion?
In that case, this, at our first meeting, I do appreciate staff. I think we have gained something out of this with the traffic study, and we've actually got takeaways of action items we can do. We've learned a lot, but at the public hearing, I said it was a no-brainer because this is a downzoning, so I motion approval of R14-0013.
Thank you. Motion to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Six yes.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next, we have information services item. I see that Jane is here. This is a receipt of the GMIS G2 award, and Jane will explain to us what that is. It's a public safety search and rescue GIS functionality issue, and I see that David West is here too.
Actually, I have a couple of my folks here. So, good afternoon. I'm pleased to announce a recent award presented to the Information Services Department by GMIS, which is the Government Management Information Sciences. It's a group of IT professionals across the United States and in some international companies or public sector organizations that decides a lot of policy and standards and procedures for technology. Several projects were submitted to GMIS in a number of categories this year, and our Public Safety Search and Rescue GIS functionality submission won in the Government to Citizen Technology category, competing with hundreds of local and state submissions across the nation. This project replaced the use of paper maps with GPS technology, which allows search and rescue teams to operate in a much more effective and thorough manner, effectively using available resources and enhance search and rescue efforts. Combining GPS technology with mapping technology allows the command team to obtain interactive and almost real-time search data and allows the strategic placement of resources during search and rescue efforts. This is the first time we've submitted projects to any agency for technology awards, and I'm very pleased that one of our projects was selected for this award. I'd like to recognize two of our information services divisions for their efforts on this project and ongoing endeavor. David West, of course, is the lead player in this, but he could not do it without the rest of the information services team. Ben Boyle, our network engineer, is part of the operations division of information services and leads the team that supports the network backbone and infrastructure for this endeavor. John Usher, our lead PC technician, also part of the operations division, leads the team that supports the hardware and software required for this endeavor. John and Ben's team also provide support for the telecommunications and the search and rescue trailer. David West, lead GIS technician in the GIS division of information services, is also a member of the search and rescue team and provides GIS support for search and rescue endeavors. David has played an integral role in providing these advanced tools to aid in search and rescue efforts and is recognized statewide for his expertise. Together, these employees and their respective teams provide support for public safety search and rescue efforts, and their efforts have been recognized on a national level. I'd like to have these three gentlemen step forward, please, to accept the award. You guys want to go ahead and step forward for your photo?
Mr. Taylor.
Mr. Chairman, next we have the report from the county administrator and the county attorney. And I have a few items. This morning, as has been the case every other Thursday for quite a few now, we had a status update meeting on the VRE station project. And usually those meetings have involved the presentation of a very elaborate set of bar graphs and tables and charts showing us the progress, painfully item by item, on the VRE station project. But today, when I walked into the meeting, my place at the table was greeted with this status update. It reads simply, "Almost done." We are, I am thrilled to say, on track. I should say VRE is on track for the opening of Spotsylvania Station Monday, November the 16th, at first train rolls at 4:55 from our station. That's in the AM. There will be a ribbon cutting for those of us with a more gentle circadian pattern in our lives. The ribbon cutting will be at 10 a.m. on Monday. I am excited to be, at least planning to be out to see the first train roll. It should be quite a time. The theme of the event is Welcome to the Fast Track Spotsylvania. Spotsylvania County and the Virginia Railway Express cordially invite you to the ribbon cutting for the Spotsylvania VRE station. That is Monday, November 16 at 10 a.m. at 9442 Crossroads Parkway, which is the physical address of the Spotsylvania VRE station. I didn't have the opportunity to upload a photograph, but I do have a photograph. It is a treat to go out and see Spotsylvania, the name Spotsylvania, in stone above the entrance to our station, the first station on the VRE line. And I know it's been a long time coming. I know that VRE has worked very, very hard on this. I know Mr. Skinner has pushed from the perspective of the VRE board very deliberately. I know Mr. Cibula, whose district it's in, has been a big fan of the project, and it is exciting to see it come to fruition. Also this week, was blessed with the opportunity to attend the VACO meetings at the homestead. I have in the past at times wondered about the productivity or value of attending those meetings, and I have to say that this year, if I'm still hoarse and have a hard time speaking, it's because I spoke to dozens and dozens and dozens of people about issues that are big on our agenda. And Mr. Skinner, I want to thank you for pointing out the nice lady's sample, because one of the things that we did talk about was biosolids and our county's interest in some initiative at the VACO level to take that issue up again and to help us take that issue forward. The VACO folks have formed a working group or subcommittee of the Agriculture Committee for study of this issue next year. Note with interest that Harrison Moody, who is a prominent member of the Agriculture Committee and also a prominent member or prominent player in the biosolids industry, is on that committee, and there are others represented there. But I mentioned that simply to say that the working group and the folks involved are tuned to the view that supports the land application of biosolids as a form of affordable fertilizer. That said, as the nice lady presented in public comment, Blue Plains has gone all Class A with their biosolids production. Spotsylvania County, from our own waste treatment facilities, is a Class A operation, and began talking with a few people at the meetings over the Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday about the prospect of enabling those localities that have themselves committed the extra resources and extra effort to go all Class A themselves. Why could we not have the authority to allow only Class A biosolids to be distributed or spread as fertilizer in our locality. Again, that was simply the beginning of a conversation, throwing out a concept. I'm sure that that working group that promises to be active in 2016 will be interested in our input, wanting to hear what our ideas are, and there will be opportunities to meet and talk with them in 2016. I'll make you aware of those, and we can put your priorities forward. There was also Education Committee meeting where we got to talk about the board's concern about school resource officers and the funding of school resource officers and the potential for including SROs among the SOQs so that the funding formula for schools might also help out on the funding of school resource officers. We did manage to get an amendment made to the legislative slate of priorities for VACO to include a request for some attention to be given at the state level for funding for SROs. It was not all the way to our desired language to tie them into the SOQs. There is concern. First of all, there's a lot of optimism among VACO and the members in the VACO Education Committee towards the funding of K-12 education from the General Assembly in the coming year, and I think they were a bit apprehensive about poisoning the well or asking for too much by looking for resource officers to be added to that funding load. But certainly our story of our recent experience and the sheriff's arrest of the students that were planning a hostile act at one of our schools certainly grabbed the attention of folks at VACO, and there is that is an item of concern. Finally, there was also a lot of concern focused on issues of waste load allocations and the accommodation with wastewater treatment for both future economic development prospects across the state and for the treatment of rainwater or stormwater in localities not like us, the MS4 localities that are required to collect, manage, and treat their stormwater. Spotsylvania is the largest non-MS4 locality in the state. That MS4 designation is one that is significant and potentially very expensive under regulation of DEQ, and so we work actively to avoid getting raked into that pile where life for us would be more difficult. And that is my report.
Thank you. Seeing no questions, Mr. Bengala.
I have no report, Mr. Chairman.
Report. Then we'll move right into board reports. Mr. McLaughlin? Mr. Ross?
Just like to thank Kelly Akers and the Registrar's Office for this past election. And everything that I got back was that it ran seamlessly. We had new voting machines out there, and you know, a lot of times we take those things for granted, but kudos to them. I also want to thank the people of Cortland for coming out and voting, and for another 4 years on the Board of Supervisors. So thank you very much, Cortland residents.
Thank you. Mr. Trampy?
No report at this time.
I have no report. Mr. Sabula?
Yes, I would like to add a little bit to our county administrator's report on up at Homestead. I have to say he did very well, and I saw all of the hoarseness come into fruition because of all of the things that he was working hard to do. One of the items separate from that I was involved in was the body cameras for our local law enforcement, and we had a lot of questions. Fortunately, they had a good report on the use of body cameras from Henrico County, and the chief of police from Henrico gave the presentation, explained costs, answered a lot of questions and concerns that I had, and I intend on inviting him or his staff, appropriate staff, to come and visit with our staff to help get us into the mode where we can, in fact, dispense body cameras to all of our deputies. They have 400 people on their force. We would have about 200
So our costs, the answer to my question on the costs were that appropriately would probably be reduced by a half, which is good news to us because we were looking at expenses that were not really something that we could have budgeted for. So it was a good trip. It was a good education. I enjoyed it, and it rained the whole time. So just like you guys had here, so we didn't get away with anything, and that's the Berkeley District report.
No golf then. Mr. Skinner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do. I wanted to say this to the public because today I got a telephone call from an organization wishing for me to make a donation to the firefighters organization. And my first question was, what % of my donation is going to go to the firefighters? And the answer was 12%. Okay? And I don't think the public is aware that when you do something like that, you should ask what % of it goes. But I know there's got to be an administrative cost, but I think 88% administrative cost is a little out of bounds here. So if the public would just be aware of that, I think it's very important that when you get these solicitations on the phone, be able to ask them what % goes to, whether it be any organization, but find out what % actually goes and what is set aside for administration. And if you do want to make a contribution to the Spotsylvania Fire Department or any organization here in Spotsylvania, if you just go to our website, it'll direct you to either firefighters or whatever organization you want to. You can get that. And there'll be means there to let you know how you make a contribution to our firefighters, our rescue people, anything of that nature. So please be aware of what people are calling you about and where your money really is going at that time. I, too, will be out Monday morning at 4:30, actually, because those who are out there, VRE is planning to serve coffee and donuts for the people who won't be there. So, yes, so if you do happen to come out at 4:30, we'll have a little coffee to warm you up and a few donuts there to fill you up if you can do that, okay? Mr. Taylor, I've got a question for you, please. That is, have we heard anything on the from Racer as far as where we stand? Because at one time we had a bunch of people and we sort of let things go to the side, not intentionally. But my question is, do we know what direction they're heading in? Because I would hate to lose somebody because somebody's just sitting back there and not willing to make a decision.
After recess, Mr. Skinner, when we get to closed session, boy, do I have an item for you.
Thank you very much, okay. That tells me what I need to know. Thank you. And the last thing I just want to, Mr. Trampy, Mr. Ross, and Ms. McLaughlin, congratulations on your reappointment to the Board of Supervisors. That's it, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you. I guess we can move ahead to closed session.
This will be your resolution to adjourn into closed meeting. Whereas the Spotsylvania County Board of Supervisors desires to adjourn into closed meeting for consultation with legal counsel pertaining to litigation, where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body, and consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters regarding the provision of legal advice by such counsel, specifically discussion concerning ATFD LLC et al. And all versus the Board of Supervisors of Spotsylvania County. And whereas the Spotsylvania County Board of Supervisors desires to adjourn in a closed meeting for discussion concerning prospective businesses or industries or the expansion of existing businesses or industries, where no previous announcement has been made of the businesses or industries' interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the community, specifically an office facility, a recreational and tourism business, and a manufacturing and/or distribution facility. And whereas pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2, 3711A5 and 7, such discussions may occur in closed meeting. Now therefore be it resolved that the Spotsylvania County Board of Supervisors does hereby authorize discussion of the aforestated matters.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Six yes.
Item that is not on the agenda tonight?
No, sir.
Is there anybody here that would like to speak about an item that is not part of the hearing tonight? Seeing nobody, I'll close that and call for a 15-minute recess.
A lot of recesses tonight.
Yeah, I know. Mr. Taylor?
Mr. Chairman, tonight we have land use case R14-0014 Integrity Homes of Metro Washington LLC. That's in the Cortland District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request to rezone a total of 45.19 acres from Residential 1 to Planned Development Housing District 4. The by right development potential for this property is 22 single-family detached lots. The rezoning will allow for 86 single-family detached lots and 77 attached lots for a total of 163. Here is a zoning map of the property, which is hatched in red. You see the adjacent development zoned PDH4 is Spring Arbor, and Heritage Hills subdivision is also adjacent, and it is zoned R1. Here's an aerial map. Again, you see Heritage Hills is adjacent. These lots range in size from quarter acre to half acre. Other adjacent properties are larger lots ranging from about 2 acres to 10 acres in size. Here's the generalized development plan that was submitted. This was reviewed by the Technical Review Committee and does meet the requirements of the Planned Development Housing District. As mentioned, the development will consist of 86 single-family detached units and 77 townhouse units. The development's main entrance will be off of River Road, and the connection to Heritage Hills is proposed to be restricted with a gate for emergency use only. Heritage Hills subdivision has one point of access off of Bragg Road currently. The plan that went before the Planning Commission showed a full interparcel connection, which would have provided Heritage Hills and the new development both a second point of access, but the Planning Commission, based on concerns raised by the Heritage Hills residents, recommended the connection be restricted for emergency use only. Moving on to the layout, the proposed detached lots are located off of the main entrance off of River Road and along the perimeter of the development. The average size of the detached lots is 7,300 square feet. The townhouse units will be located on the interior of the development with a portion directly adjacent to the Heritage Hills subdivision. The average size of these lots is 1,800 square feet. Sidewalks are provided throughout the development and along the frontage of River Road. There is a required 25-foot landscape transitional screening that's been shown here between the townhouse units and the Heritage Hill lots. That's identified right there with the green line. This was brought up during the community meeting as a concern. The Heritage Hills residents did express the desire for some sort of buffer between those units and their homes. Also, the required street buffer is shown along the River Road frontage, both of which are highlighted in green. The zoning district requires 30% of the gross acreage be maintained as open space, and the applicant has provided more than the required amount with 19.10 acres. That's approximately 42% of the development's acreage. Within the open space, the applicant has designated tree conservation areas that I've generally identified on the plan shaded in green. Amenities provided by the applicant include a tot lot located where the yellow circle is, central to the development here, and a trail that connects the Heritage Hills development and extends along the rear of the proposed lots. This trail is identified here in blue. All roads within the development will be public, and the applicant is dedicating right-of-way to the adjacent property to the east to provide for a future interparcel connection, and that property to the east does have frontage on Bragg Road. As mentioned, the main entrance to the development will be off River Road. When this project originally was presented to the community before they made application, it only showed one access through Heritage Hills development. The applicant heard the concerns raised by the community, primarily the Heritage Hills property owners, and was able to acquire additional property and provide a new entrance on River Road. The applicant has complied with the Planning Commission's recommendation and restricted the connection to Heritage Hills as emergency access only. But I will note that planning staff continues to advocate for the full interparcel connection. Not only are interparcel connections important from a traffic standpoint, but from public safety as well, particularly with regards to reduced response times and an alternative means of access should emergency restrict a point of access. The county's Fire Rescue and Emergency Services weighed in on this, on the proposed restricted access. Their thoughts was a full connection was certainly preferred, but this was better than nothing. The applicant did provide a traffic impact analysis, which was reviewed by both VDOT and the county's engineer. The proposed development will generate 1,418 trips during an average weekday. Based on the analysis, no transportation improvements are required for the development. However, the applicant has proffered to construct a left turn lane on River Road into the development. Approximately half of this property is located outside of the primary development boundary. This is the boundary that defines the area where public water and sewer will be provided. Due to this, the applicant must construct a pump station to serve the development with sewer service. The county's utility department typically does not like to see private pump stations, but in this case did agree with the understanding that the existing regional pump station will be replaced by the new facility to accommodate the existing community. A Phase 1 cultural resources study was completed on the property, as the entire area is located within the battlefield core area of the Second Battle of Fredericksburg and within the battle study area for the Battle of Salem Church. The results of the study recommended a military site survey be conducted on the entire Hill Farm project area to determine if Civil War era military sites exist. The applicant has proffered to complete the survey, and I'll go greater detail into that later in the presentation. These are some architectural renderings that have been provided, and the next slide I go over the proffers. The applicant has proffered to develop in conformance with these elevations. The applicant has committed to develop the property in conformance with the generalized development plan we just reviewed. The PDH4 district allows for 4 units per acre, which in this case would allow for a total of 180 units. So the applicant has proffered to limit the number of units to 163 as shown on the GDP. And they've also provided square footage ranges for both the detached and townhouse units. Detached units will range from 2,300 square feet to 4,000 square feet, and the townhouse units will range from 1,500 to 2,900 square feet. The applicant commits to the design material and architectural features of those elevations that we just saw on the previous slide. The applicant commits to establish an HOA along with declaration of conditions, covenants, and restrictions and easements on the property. The applicant is committed to provide at the time of closing all homeowners a general plan of development which will show all proposed future public improvements, in particular that future road connection that we mentioned to the east. The applicant commits to construct a new sewer pump station to serve the development. The applicant commits to phasing the development. This proffer was added to address the Planning Commission's recommendation. The proffer states that no townhomes in Phase 2 will be sold until all the townhomes in Phase 1 have been sold. And the phasing plan is to start from the River Road entrance and work in. The applicant commits to provide a tot lot and trail system on the property. They commit to constructing the left turn lane westbound on River Road with an in-kind transportation proffer credit in the amount of $653,832. The applicant is committed to restrict the connection to Heritage Hills via the Ventura Lane for emergency access only. They will provide an architecturally consistent gate along with landscaping in the gated area. And again, this is in response to the Planning Commission's recommendation for restricted access. The applicant's total contribution is $2,555,120, which breaks down to $18,460 per single-family detached unit and $17,840 per single-family attached unit. Keep in mind, those totals include the in-kind transportation improvement credit. So the actual cash amount to be paid per unit is $13,360 for detached and $13,587 per attached unit. The applicant also committed to conduct a military site survey, as was recommended in the Phase 1 study prior to submission of the preliminary plat. The first table here shows the estimated population and student generation for the new development, the existing conditions, and the impact on public facilities. Keep in mind the capacity information shown here does not factor in other approved rezonings or by right developments. You'll see that currently Fire Station 6 is over capacity. When Station 11 comes online, it will offset this to a degree, but we're not sure how much at this time. The second table is the county's estimated impact on capital facilities and the applicant's proposed mitigation. As I mentioned earlier, the by right development potential for this property is 22 detached lots, so our calculations are based on those units above and beyond the by right lots. The total impact comes to $3,474,110. And just FYI, these calculations are based on the board's newly adopted proffer policy. The applicant's total contribution is $2,555,120, which, as I just mentioned, breaks down to $18,460 per single-family detached and $17,840 per single-family attached. Keep in mind again that these do include the transportation in-kind credit that was given in the amount of $653,832. With this, there is a shortfall in the amount of $918,990. The applicant provided their own fiscal impact analysis, and their conservative analysis projected an annual benefit of $53,000, which over the course of 30 years would offset the capital facilities impact. Staff completed a separate analysis on the county's model using the same comparables as the applicants, which included Everett Estates, Breckenridge, and the Estates at Lee's Park for the detached homes, and Lafayette Crossing for the townhomes. Of course, one of the differences between the applicants and staffs is that staff uses assessed values in our model, and the applicant uses market values. The county's model projects an annual benefit of $24,799. However, over the course of 30 years, this does not cover the expected impacts. There's a shortfall of $175,020. The second table shows the economic activity to be generated within the local economy from the development. As you see, a total of 245 jobs are expected to be created, and the economic benefit is projected to be just over $42 million. Some key findings from our analysis. The design of the project is compatible with the existing development, and it does meet the intent of the future land use designation of low-density residential. The proffered left turn lane on River Road into the development will assist in alleviating potential traffic concerns. This improvement is above and beyond what is required for the project. While the applicant is providing $2,555,120 in mitigation, it is less than the county's proffer policy by $918,990. Based on the county's model, the development is anticipated to have an annual fiscal benefit of $24,799. However, the project is not anticipated to generate sufficient tax dollars within 30 years to pay for the capital facility costs associated with the development. I will note again that based on the applicant's projected fiscal benefit, that the development would offset capital impacts within 6 years. The Planning Commission recommended approval with recommendations to the board. They tweaked the cultural resources language a bit to have that be submitted prior to preliminary plat submission. They, again, restricted the access to Heritage Hills to be an emergency-only access. They requested the phasing commitment for the townhome units to single-family detached. And they also asked for a commitment on the construction materials of that that access gate and landscaping, which the applicant has complied with all of those. From a land use perspective, staff recommends approval. However, our approval is tempered by the lack of a complete interparcel connection to Heritage Hills and the fact that the project does not offset projected capital facilities impacts, nor does the projected revenues compensate for the shortfall. Again, keep in mind this analysis was completed with the board's newly adopted proffer policy. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Trampy.
I know we're in a little bit of a transition phase with projects that were proposed before our new proffer guidelines were enacted. But it was my understanding that we adopted the Planning Commission's recommendation minus the debt service credit, and their recommendations included no longer measuring the 30 years, the ongoing revenue, and whether that pays for it over 30 years. Is that or is that no longer part of our policy?
It's my understanding that the board is still considering that, whether that policy is something that you want to continue with.
Thank you. No questions? Would have the applicant come forward?
Mr. Chairman, other members of the Board of Supervisors, my name is Charlie Payne with the law firm Herschel Fleischer. We represent the applicant. The applicant, Mr. Bruce Gould, is here, as well as Jim Bischoff with J2 Engineering, our engineer on the project. So if there's a question that I can't answer, they are here to help support that. The property owners are also here, the Hill family, and the Wiseman family, and the Geisel family, all of which are longtime residents of Spotsylvania County. Staff has noted the applicant is Integrity Homes, which is a well-respected builder and developer in Northern Virginia. This is their first venture into this area. They have been working with the community close to 2 years on this project. I think that's important to note, including several community meetings with the Heritage Hills folks, and obviously 2 Planning Commission hearings and then here tonight. Staff has noted this project does include 5 parcels with a total of 54.55 acres. Staff has noted its location near River Road and Bragg Road. It is in the Cortland voting district, and the request is a rezoning from R1 to PDH 4 for 163 units. Staff has also noted the proposed use is compatible with surrounding uses, including at Spring Arbor and at Heritage Hills, which is zoned R1. Proposal is to request for 86 single-family detached units and 77 single-family attached units. The project is consistent with the county's comprehensive plan. This is an infill project off of Bragg Road. As you likely know, there has not been a lot of development in this area over the past several years. This is one of the few rezonings in this particular location. The strategic component of this, which I think is beneficial to the county, that was not noted earlier, is the fact that this is near your major shopping areas. And having this type of development with the home prices and values that we have estimated and proffered in regards to the size of our units and the size of our lots will be a fiscal benefit to the county. This project also have access to public sewer and water. What has not been discussed is also we have proffered to construct a new pump station, which we don't get proffer credit for, which even if we don't move forward with this project is required for that particular area. So that'll be a benefit not only to our project, but also to citizens in the surrounding community. This project also preserves 42% open space, which exceeds a 30% open space requirement under the PDH district. Much of that protecting the natural tree line buffer along River Road. In regards to the fiscal impact analysis, which is in your packet, I think it's important to note, as staff has noted, and we appreciate that they took a fairly conservative analysis in regards to the fiscal impact. Our fiscal impact does look at on-site and off-site positive impacts, which I know this board looks at as well for all projects. On-site using market values, which we believe are the appropriate values to look at. On-site, we're at about $77,000 annually net positive impact. And off-site, about $172,000, which again is sales tax, food tax, beverage tax, B-pole, et cetera, that's generated from this project. If believe the average median income of the individuals who live in these homes is over $150,000, which again is a fiscal benefit to the community. In regards to the proffers, I think it's important to note that this application was filed in December of 2014 before there was an actual proposal to the Board of Supervisors from the Planning Commission in regards to proffers and any change to the guidelines. In addition to that, what we have proposed is consistent with what the Planning Commission has proposed to the Board of Supervisors. It is still my understanding that in regard to the debt service credit, that's still under advisement pursuant to your last meeting, but I could be incorrect, but that's my understanding. The proffers do include in-kind transportation proffers as well as cash. And if you look at the total proffer package, and in knowing all of you in the past 4 years and reviewing many projects that have been before you, this is likely one of the largest, if not the largest, proffer package per unit that's been presented to this Board of Supervisors. It includes cash. It includes an aggregate of $2,555,120, including over $1.6 million for schools, $55,000 for Parks and Rec. In kind, as I noted, over $653,000 for road improvements, which were not required by our TIA, but which we have proffered to improve River Road and an intersection at our site. Proffers for libraries, fire and rescue about $84,000, law enforcement $42,000, and general government $42,000. About all cash in about $1.9 million. In regards to the transportation improvements, I think it's important to note, as I stated earlier, that our TIA did not require any off-site improvements. This project's contributing about 2% additional traffic going west on River Road, and about less than 8 or 9% going east. As staff has noted, the original plan, just to give you a little history, an original application plan was for all the traffic to go through on Ventura Drive through Heritage Hills. The reason for that was specifically the way that Heritage Hills was developed, it was intended to connect to our parcel. So the intention was that we would have an interparcel connection, and right-of-way was dedicated to the county to connect to Bragg Road. That was the original plan. We presented that to the neighbors, community meeting. They obviously were not very excited about that. So my client went and looked for adjacent parcels to find other connections, including to the west at Heatherstone and also to the north at River Road. The Heatherstone connection was simply not feasible from a topography and RPA perspective, and we also would have to obtain additional right-of-way. The River Road connection was more feasible because it had a full light intersection at the intersection of Bragg and River Road, which would benefit not only our community, but also the Heritage Hills community. If you're familiar with their development, they have no light at their intersection, and coming left out of their intersection is a very challenging initiative. We were able to obtain under contract those parcels for that access on River Road. We presented we filed our application, including with the two accesses, both through Ventura Drive and to River Road. We had our public hearing before the Planning Commission. Of course, we had presented that plan to the Heritage Hills community as well. Had our public hearing in the Planning Commission. Several of the Heritage Hills residents came out in opposition to that connection of Ventura Drive and asked that we only have the connection at River Road. The Planning Commission also asked us to do that. That's what we did. We asked VDOT and county staff to take a look at it and only have an emergency connection on Ventura Drive. And that's what, and VDOT and both the county agreed that that would satisfy the requirements in regards to our SSAR. That's what you have before you tonight. Only an emergency access through Ventura Drive, and then also our main access to River Road. With that main access to River Road, we will include obviously improvements to River Road, including a left turn lane. And with that, I'm going to ask Jim Bischoff to come up to go through, if you will, with you all to describe what those improvements would look like once they were completed. And I think you'll notice that the sight lines and how wide this particular area on River Road becomes with these improvements will be a significant benefit not only to our project, but also to the community. Jim?
Video, mister? Is this your visual, and this is what you're showing isn't going to be in conformity? Okay.
Back this up just 1 second here. About that. Good evening. My name is Jim Bischoff. I'm one of the owners of J2 Engineers. I've been a transportation engineer in the state of Virginia for 30 years. I'm a licensed professional, and I used to work for the Virginia Department of Transportation as the Northern Virginia Assistant District Location Design Engineer. With these still animations, I'm going to kind of walk through a few things. Earlier this summer, I had an opportunity to meet Supervisor Ross in the field where he noted some concerns safety-wise. And I'm hoping with these animations, which were pulled and developed directly from our CAD design, will kind of give you a visual of what you can expect to see once the project's been implemented. The image right here is a aerial bird's eye view of what the intersection might look like or will look like. What you see here is a visual of a car approaching from the west, looking at the proposed intersection. You can see here, see where I'm circling? This is the car that's sitting at the entrance westbound, attempting or waiting to make a left turn lane or left turn movement into the site. To the right is the vehicle sitting, preparing to exit out of the site. I might add that the location of the vehicle is the required distance that VDOT requires for proper site distances on this classification of roadway at 40 miles per hour. This image basically shows the car sitting at the intersection looking right to show that he has proper sight distance looking right. This image shows the car preparing to make a left into the site, looking down over the hill that visually can see the car approaching. So from there, what I'm going to do is all these still shots are going to be a part of this animation that I'm going to start up here for you. I'm going to let it run through once. It runs through very quickly. This thing is to scale. And the speed of the cars is the actual speed of what would represent someone traveling at 35 miles an hour. The reason it's 35 is this area of River Road is posted 35 miles per hour. This is the visual heading eastbound. This is the visual that you would see heading westbound, preparing to make a left turn into the development. As you can see, you have clear line of sight. And here, you're seeing the vehicle looking right, then left, and maneuvering right out of the sight. As I stated, the criteria used to establish this is all meets VDOT criteria and AASHTO criteria. I think some other things that I should probably quickly point out would be that these alternatives were prepared, and VDOT did have an opportunity to review these. They had, with their review, had approved the concept of the entrance location. We did move the entrance, however, about 50 feet to the west of the current location to better address the concerns of Supervisor Ross. So at that point, I'm wondering if you had any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Bischoff on the?
I just want a quick one for you. You said that the simulation was to scale. Is it to the survey of the land itself?
It's to the survey, and it's actually to
So-
the model of what's being projected there.
So it was from the
Height-
survey, so the actual heights are what we'd actually see on the ground?
Yes.
And then when you did
The
the
height of
CAD.
eye is required to be 3.5 feet off the ground. That way, you're not creating a false view sitting in like an SUV. And the same with the approaching vehicles. The height of eye is 3.5 foot.
I'd just like to go back to slide 1 of 5, please. So when I'm looking at that, if you moved it 50 feet west, it would be, when I look at this slide and I look to the left-hand side, it looks like the crest of the hill is further to the left, which I know as the site currently is, or was when I looked at it, it was at the crest of the hill, which would be further to the left on the slide. But here it looks like the crest is even further than it was, but you're saying you moved it west, unless I'm missing something.
Well,
is this
No.
is this accurate? Or?
This is accurate. The entrance that when we met out in the field was across, it was actually across from the existing entrance to the to the property on the north side of River Road. And in fact, we moved this thing, like I said, approximately 50 feet to the west of where it was when we visited the field this summer.
Just looking at this slide, it looks like it moved east instead of west to me from knowing the area.
This is a visual based from a bird's eye perspective.
And could you replay the simulation too? And I just want to point out, again, my concern, and just the first part of it, when you're coming up the hill, if that's at 35 and you can see that there's a car here, and imagine if you're going faster, right there, boom, and that car at your 35 mile an hour, I'm still very concerned about, and if you go back, let's play that one more time so I can have my fellow board members see that. How quickly, if a car is turning left here, how quickly you come upon that, and that's at 35, and I'll guarantee you people are going to come up that hill faster than that, so that's not really a question, it's more just, I wanted to see that again, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just a couple other things. I would just follow up with Mr. Ross's comments, but the only difference is today versus what would be proposed is the sight lines would be significantly better coming out of that site or going into that site, which is why we are proposing improvements. Again, let's not forget that our TIA did not require any off-site mitigation. So what we're doing is consistent with VDOT requirements, okay? With that, Mr. Chairman, I have no further comments, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you or any of the board members may have. And we appreciate your time this evening and appreciate your due diligence with this application. And I would just also just real quickly note that my client has truly worked very hard and diligently with the community, with the county staff, with the property owners, and obviously the property owners have been in this community for a very long time. We have worked very hard to try to address all the community issues. You can't always make everybody happy, but we think we've come a long ways in addressing all of those issues and concerns. And I just want to just make that point as a compliment to my client, because not always do you get a developer who comes to your community who's invested in that kind of degree.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. McLaughlin.
Yeah, just one quick one. Now, I understand that there's a follow-on piece to be added to a future rezoning. I guess that would be, I don't know if that's south of Heritage Hills, that would connect to Bragg Road in the future? Is that, I guess?
It could be.
Right. So ultimately, that's one of the questions. It seems like there's a lot of concern about connecting to River Road. What is ultimately why we're not connecting to Bragg Road?
Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to answer that question.
Yeah. Yes, please go
One,
ahead.
obviously that piece is not part of the rezoning. The Hill family is desiring to remain on that portion of their property for the rest of their lives, which we respect. They will be developed at some point in the future, we assume. But we did not need that connection, to be honest with you. Heritage Hills was always the second connection that was available. In fact, it was the primary connection that was available. And our TIA and analysis by VDOT and county staff did not require us to have an alternative connection. It was my client who went and obtained the alternative connection to address those issues.
Thank you. Other questions? None. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The public hearing open. Amy, has anybody signed up to speak?
Yes, sir. The first citizen signed up to speak is Nancy Cole, followed by Charles Detman.
Please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes and state your name and address, please.
Good evening, board members. My name is Nancy Cole. I live at 13603 McLean Place off of River Road in Spotsylvania County. I have lived here for 25 years. I do not have millions of dollars to offer you to pass this project. All I have is my love of River Road and that area, the historic value that it has, and its place next to the river. At this location that is up for rezoning, Hill Farm, the area already has an 88-bed nursing home and a 33 single-family homes and 31 townhome development currently being built, all crammed in on this small piece of land. I do believe they are having a hard time getting them built and sold. This has been going on for years. And if these 1,400 trips will be coming in and out behind the villas, this will diminish the value of these 3 projects being built here already, as well as an overdeveloped townhouse subdivision across the street. Now, the Integrity Homes and the Hill family are requesting 163 more homes when they only have a by right of 22 homes. So here we are again dealing with this, fighting another too high density project. First, this is too high of density, 163 homes for this location. Secondly, it seems as though no one gives any concern to our precious natural resource, our river. From the runoff that will be created by this, the Fredericksburg Riverboat had to move to Richmond because they could not operate in our silt-laden Rappahannock River. Thirdly, because they cannot get the egress and ingress they want to run the traffic 1,400 trips a day through an established neighborhood, disrupting Heritage Hills residents. It appears as though the Hills want their cake and eat it too. Sell their 45 acres at a sizable amount of money, get it rezoned to a high density, and then continue to live there and then dump all the trips, 1,400 a day, onto their neighbors in Heritage Hills and River Road. And by the way, we never had a meeting about this being put on River Road. At the crest of a hill, jeopardizing the lives and safety of all the people who use these roads because they don't want this done there for who knows how long. There have been 6 accidents on this road in the last 2 months, resulting in 1 death. Why can't the Hills use the sizable amount of money from the sale of their land to build a road through their own land? Since most of the trips coming off of River Road will be heading to Bragg Road. Anyway, what kind of people do this?
Ma'am, could you please sum up? The red light is on and your
Okay.
time has elapsed.
Risking the lives of our neighbors because they do not want to be inconvenienced. This is beyond selfish. If this entrance is built off River Road and there are accidents there, I say you're looking at lawsuits because nobody goes 35 miles an hour up that hill. We have these matters to consider as well. There's historic significant.
Ma'am, the red light is on. Your 3 minutes as
okay.
now 50 seconds passed.
All right.
Please sum up.
We do not want this. We ask that you deny this rezoning, and thank you.
Charles Detman, followed by Virginia Harpold.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Board of Supervisors, good evening. My name is Charles Detman, 96 East River Bend Road. I'm president of the River Bluffs Owners Association, representing 94 home sites and approximately 300 residents 3 miles west of the proposed intersection of River Road in the county. We do not object to the development, although it appears economically unsound for the county. However, we vigorously object to the proposed intersection at the top of the steep hill on River Road in a curve and with the sun in driver's eyes during morning commutes seasonally. Reducing the speed limit is not a good option, as many heavy vehicles would have difficulty starting on the grade if stopped. This general location has already become more hazardous with the recent construction of Spring Arbor. The developer has in the past proposed access through Heritage Hills, which was rejected, a T intersection with River Road, a traffic circle which they withdrew, and now back to the T intersection. At no time has the developer proposed access via Heatherstone Drive, which enters Route 3 at a traffic light, or a connection to 4-lane Bragg Road. On sheet 4 of the development plan, it states, and I quote, "Note, right-of-way will be dedicated to the property line with the intent to ultimately extend the road through Parcel A and connect to Bragg Road in the future." Obviously, the developer has considered and rejected these options. If this development is to proceed, one of the 2 access points I mentioned above must be made, not the proposed intersection on River Road. The proposed River Road intersection will most certainly result in innumerable accidents, injuries, and possibly deaths to Spotsylvania County residents. And as an engineer, I can tell you the video that you saw, it is not tangent, as we call in railroad. It is at a curve at the top of the hill coming east on River Road. It is not straight. Since there are other reasonable options available for access with significantly less hazards, I strongly recommend you do not approve this proposal. Thank you.
Virginia Harpold, followed by Marianne Kritzer.
Good evening. My name is Virginia Harpold. I live at 6703 River Road. I'm also opposed to the location of this intersection to the Hill Farm subdivision. River Road is old and it's poorly maintained. The eastern section has blind curves and blind hills. The proposed intersection will be affected by one of each. It already carries a considerable traffic load, especially during rush hour. A lot of people have discovered this is a good cut through, and a substantial number of the people using this road really don't have the requisite skills to drive on it at the speeds they consider acceptable, which I can assure you are over 40 miles per hour. The center line is for your nose wheel, applies only at airports. If you need to dodge, too bad. Most of this section of road has no berm, and in fact, when we have a heavy rain, it erodes right to the edge of the pavement and occasionally underneath, and the pavement caves in. Just in the past couple of months, we've had 6 or 7 accidents on the eastern half of River Road, and at least one including a fatality. And this is the road into which the developers want to dump 1,400 more cars a day, at least when the subdivision is completed. This is just not acceptable by anybody's standards. There are alternatives. Bragg Road is better able to handle this amount of traffic. There are properties along Bragg Road that might be available for egress, and the hill property on Bragg Road may be the best alternative. Neighborhood rumor has it that the Hills don't want this traffic coming out near their house. Well, we don't either. They just apparently want to have their cake and eat it too. To the Hills, Sometimes there's a cost of doing business. To collect the $3 million for your sale, there must be access to your property. If your residence is the best access, this may be your cost of doing business. To the Board of Supervisors, your mission is to look after the business and the well-being of the entire community. Approving this entrance is not in the best interest of the residents of River Road, of the already approved development near Spring Arbor, or of the residents and staff at Spring Arbor. I solicit your vote of no for this intersection. Thank you.
Mary Ann Kritzer, followed by Tom McCrossan.
Good evening. My name is Mary Ann Kreiser, 6619 River Road. I've lived there for 40 years. I know River Road very well. Integrity Home is requesting the rezoning of 45 acres for a housing project consisting of 163 units. This development is known as Hill Farm. Additionally, they are asking for an entrance to this development to be on River Road. This entrance should be a big no. River Road presently has many issues with traffic, too many to mention here tonight. Also, close to this proposed entrance is an existing entrance to the assisted living facility. Many of the people there still drive. And also, the Ryan Home Development and the Foundation Villas will use the assisted living driveway, creating more traffic. Hill Farm, when completed, is expected to generate 1,300 trips a day, dumping onto River Road. All of this traffic is far too much for this small location. 95% of the Hill Farm traffic will go east toward the traffic light. Maybe 5% will go west, but when I see that Riverbend High School is the school, that means teenagers will be taking the West River Road, which is very dangerous. I raised 2 boys out there. I know all about that. Traffic will head east on River Road to and in rush hour traffic, that will be dangerous. Therefore, it seems logical that an entrance for the Hill Farm should be on Bragg Road. The major concern here tonight should be safety with a capital S. I'm asking for thoughtful concern here tonight when you consider your vote, which I hope will be no. Thank you.
Tom McCrossan, followed by Dr. Sam Benson.
Hi, my name is Tom McCrossan. I reside at 12515 Ventura Lane. That's within Heritage Hills. That's on one of the accesses to the neighborhood. I sent all the board members a letter this morning. I have lived at that location for the past 20 years. I respect the Hills. They have beautiful property. It's been home to them for longer than my home has been to me. The builders have been very cooperative in dialoguing with them. However, the only option that hasn't been presented is direct access to Bragg Road. Without repeating a lot, I'd like to simply say that in the interest of safety, any access to River Road or through Ventura Lane, all the numbers add up, but the reality is that there will be safety issues. Ventura Lane looks good from VDOT standards, however, simply cannot handle more traffic than it currently has. If you ride that road, you can see that cars are constantly parked there. The video that was played looks really nice, but I find it hard to believe, having gone across that road, that that will actually be how left turns and right turns actually play out. I'd also like to say that though I appreciate that the access road to Ventura Lane will be closed and for emergency purposes only, I'd like to give a little bit of history. As a former resident there, prior to a sign that is up currently that says no outlet, we constantly had traffic going through there, whipping down to the circle and then whipping back out in an effort to short circuit River Road. That was long before the volume of traffic that is currently on River Road or a light there. That has been at least 15 years, and the volume is significantly more. If that road were not permanently locked, and I would hope that there wouldn't be a road because we use that field, but I understand the safety needs. If that road were not permanently locked, not only would the residents of the Hill property use that as an egress to 95, but so would most of the other residents along River Road. It would simply be a hole in a bucket where significantly more than the number of trips that have been forecasted would occur. I would simply like to urge the board that they not consider this project unless it has direct egress to Bragg Road for any plan now or in the future. Thank you.
Dr. Sam Benson, followed by Ann Benson.
Chairman, members of the Spotsylvania Board of Supervisors and other duly elected county officials, good evening. And I thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak in favor of the Hill Farm project. I'm Reverend Dr. Samuel Benson of 5503 Heritage Hill Circle. I'm also a 45-year veteran teacher. I'm the VTEEA 2015 Northern Region, Northern Virginia Technology and Engineering Teacher of the Year. My wife and I have resided in Heritage Hills since 2005. I've lived in Spotsylvania County since the year of 2000. My mother and my grandmother were both born and raised in neighboring Louisa County. But I'm here tonight because I'm persuaded that the Hill Farm project is a positive endeavor. Presently, the parcel land under consideration is yielding our county treasury less than $2,500 per year. When the proposed subdivision is in place with its high-end housing, the county could possibly see a windfall net gain of thousands of additional dollars in personal property taxes, real estate taxes, and local sales taxes. As you hasten to a final decision tonight, I would humbly request that you would give consideration to other working families who are hoping and saving for the chance to experience what we in Heritage Hills and all over Spotsylvania County have experienced. When the American dream of home ownership came true for each of us, many farms were sold. Many roads were filled with numerous contractors, delivering truckload after truckload of concrete, lumber, drywall, shingles, bricks, and more. Now that our dream of homeownership has been fulfilled and we are happy and content, how can I now selfishly stand here and say, stop the growth process? How can I stand here tonight and say no to others who are dreaming, hoping, and praying for the same opportunity to live in a beautiful community? With a clear conscience, I cannot. To you, the Board of Supervisors of this fine county, I say, allow the developer to make the necessary adjustments to the roads affected and go forth with the Hill Farm project. May God continue to bless Spotsylvania County, and God bless America.
Ann Benson, followed by Kevin McGrada.
To the Spotsylvania County Board of Supervisors and other elected officials, good evening. My name is Ann Benson, and I have resided in Heritage Hills for 10 years. My residence is 5503 Heritage Hills Circle. I have some fantastic neighbors, but Donnie Hill has been one of the finest neighbors I've ever encountered. I am aware that Donnie and his wife are hoping to sell their land to a developer, and I fully support the Hill family in this venture. I am also delighted to know that the new development will include a walking trail, which will not only benefit the future community, but the residents of Heritage Hills as well. I am encouraged by this prospect that this new development will positively affect the overall value of our homes within Heritage Hills. In closing, I believe Donnie and his wife are now ready to convert their investment back into capital so that finally they will be able to retire. Over the years, the Hill family have lost their view of beautiful farmland. They have endured the noisy trucks that were required to build our neighborhood. Donnie and his loving wife allowed the Heritage Hills subdivision to be built without a fight. Now, it's our turn as a community to return the act of kindness and allow the Hill family to sell their property so that their dream can now become a reality. And together, we will all be able to say as neighbors, dreams really do come true. Thank you.
Kevin McGratta, followed by Daniel Pemberton.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Kevin McGrath. I live at 12602 Ventura Lane in Heritage Hills. And I just wanted to throw a couple thoughts out there. One is I want to applaud Bruce Guild with Integrity Homes. I have seen the work that he's put in doing his best to find a way to make it happen. He wants to build houses. That's okay. And he's worked very hard to create a dialogue with the community, and a lot of developers wouldn't do that. The other thing that strikes me is that I have not heard a lot of opposition to the development itself. It's jobs, it's housing. Many great points have been brought forward. The opposition is how to get to it. And my feeling is that safety is first. After that, the game's over. And the best access would be Bragg Road. The best access would be through Mr. Hill's property. It's the common sense answer. So I hope that there'll be a further dialogue as we go forward to think about the best way that we can provide growth for the county, jobs for the county, but also protect the safety of everybody involved. Thank you.
Daniel Pemberton, followed by Joseph Cass.
Thank you. Glad to be with you all tonight. My name is Daniel Pemberton. I live at 6206 Plank Road with my wife, Helen. We are in support of this Hill Farm project. I am speaking tonight for only myself and my wife, no one else. We are property owners on Bragg Road, next door to Don and Susan Hill at 1306 Bragg Road. This is an extremely good project for Spotsylvania County. The real estate taxes on this property will go from approximately $2,000 a year to approximately $4.5 million at build-out time. That's a lot of money. The developer is going to replace a 40-year-old pump station of Spotsylvania counties free of charge, approximately costing the developer $1 million. This project is a good deal for Spotsylvania County's road systems. Residents will only travel a short distance to shopping centers and I-95, mostly on city roads, versus locations like Road 3 West, where you have to travel for many miles to get to these centers and 95. I don't mean that you would have to go in the route that may be planned, but if you go further out into the county, it's going to be a lot more traffic on Spotsylvania roads than there are at this location. The Spotsylvania Planning Department has, the Spotsylvania Planning Commission approved this project, and the Spotsylvania Planning Department recommend approval of the land use plan. The developer has volunteered profits of over $2.5 million. If this project is not approved, the owner will develop the 22 lots of single-family homes by right with no profits. Traffic will go through Heritage Hills by the way of Ventura Lane. Also, there will be no pump station free to Spotsylvania County. In closing, I just want to let you know, I just want to say that we were at the community meeting when they met on the May the 8th, 2014, and the main concern there was the traffic going through the Heritage Hills Ventura Lane. And remember, it also goes by the Magic Circle. The developer has done everything he could, or has done the very best he could to make this project go. And if it does not go through, the 22 homes will be built on Ventura Lane, and they would travel through the Magic Circle. Please, gentlemen, make this project work some way. We do not want the traffic to go through Ventura Lane, and Spotsylvania does not need to give up a good project like this. We thank you, and my wife and I ask you to support this project tonight. Thank you.
Joseph Cass, followed by George Bredenbenden. George Bredenbenden, followed by Rob Taubert.
Good evening. I'm George Biedenbender. I live at 12604 Ventura Lane. My wife and I, Pam, have lived there since the year 2000. We had our home built. I will be short, be brief, and be gone. I just want to talk about from the perspective of safety. I live on the last house on the left as you're going down Ventura Lane at the circle. We are a neighborhood of walkers, joggers, bicycle riders. We have no sidewalks, no curbing. We have limited or non-working lighting, and although we've asked for street lights to be repaired, we still have some that go without being repaired. We have children waiting for school buses on the roadways because, again, there is no curbing, and on the corner where they wait are nothing but large mud puddles, and there's no place safe for them to stand. Plus, we have outside resident speeders. Most of them are teens who like to come down to the end of the circle there and park there for whatever they do, teens do these days. More traffic would just add to the problem, and our roads are already in bad enough shape. My concern is, if this project was approved, where will construction vehicles enter from, and in an effort of safety? That's my concern. Thank you.
Rob Taubert, followed by Bill McEater.
Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisors, good evening. My name is Bob Taubert. I live at 6309 River Road, Fredericksburg, 22407. I've been there since 1978, and I consider myself thoroughly familiar with the road. I don't know the Hill family, but I know the Wisemans, and I consider Ray a good friend of mine. Have a lot of admiration for his accomplishments. And I believe people who own property should be able to do what they want with it. But when it has an impact on public safety and the general welfare of the community, I think safety will trump everything else. Safety trumps money. Safety trumps taxes. At least rational people will put safety at the top of the list. I also have walked the property. I've driven it a number of times. My concern is that with the sun out in the west, it's sort of a blinding situation when you're coming up the hill, and then couple that with a wintry mix, ice, snow, what have you, and your visibility, and your reaction times are going to be reduced accordingly. I have a couple of questions. Let's say theoretically or hypothetically, the entrance is approved. How long would it take to construct that, and would it block River Road for a period of time? The reason I ask that is that if the road is blocked for, say, months or weeks or whatever it might take, emergency vehicles coming in from the east will have to go all the way around and enter River Road from the west, and I think that that could jeopardize the safety and care of people that live in that area. Would take that much longer to respond. Again, I do this reluctantly, but I have to, if I have a vote against the entrance because of safety issues. Thank you very much.
Bill McAteer, followed by Jessica Hill.
I'm Bill McAteer, and thank y'all for letting me speak. My concern is about the safety of the proposed intersection on River Road. I live in River Bluffs, and my family and I drive up and down River Road every day of our lives for the last 23 years. And I'm here to tell you that the location of that intersection where it is proposed, it will be a blind intersection when you're coming up that hill. And furthermore, in the early morning hours, the sun is right over the crest of that hill. You can't see nothing. And I would hate to see me or my family have a bad accident as a result of cars coming out of that intersection. I would ask the board, at a minimum, that a road safety assessment be conducted independent of what the developer is providing you. Thank you very much.
Jessica Hill, followed by Matthew Bushman.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Jessica Hill, and I am speaking on behalf of my parents, Donald and Susan Hill, who live at 1308 Bragg Road, the Hill Farm. My parents moved into 1308 Bragg Road when they were pregnant with me 38 years ago, just to give some context. Obviously, a lot of the improvements around us, like Heritage Hills, Wilburn Farms, Spotsylvania Mall, weren't there. There wasn't even a light at Bragg Road and Route 3. My parents moved into 10 acres. That was the Hill Farm that they moved into. Around the time that Heritage Hills was developed, my parents purchased the additional property, which is under review tonight, to add to their property, realizing that it was eventually going to be connected with Heritage Hills. My father purchased it at a time when he knew that Ventura Lane had a connection. This was intentional. We knew that it had a connection to a publicly dedicated road for future access. This is not a secret. It's obviously on the maps. Now, my parents are looking to go back to their original 10 acres. They're obviously not getting any younger. And we've had many offers over the years to purchase our property in the entirety, in portions, and we've weighed those options very carefully. This particular offer is, we think, the best for not only the community, but also for my parents who are still going to remain on their original 10 acres. They're going to have the same impacts that are experienced here as far as traffic. As was mentioned by several of the members that are in opposition, everybody's going to go east at the light on River Road and get on Bragg Road. Well, guess what? Our access is on Bragg Road as well. Now, there's 400 feet of frontage on Bragg Road at my parents' house. We're proposing to have 2,000 feet of frontage on River Road, and there's already a connection to Ventura Lane. The applicant has worked diligently to try and resolve the issues that have been expressed. First, it was don't access Ventura Lane. Well, we're allowed to, but we're not going to. So he assembled additional property to add to this to now have an access on River Road, which has been modeled as working. I tend to believe the traffic engineers and the permitting folks. I realize that change is difficult, and my parents and everybody here has been living with it for years. My parents are going to continue to live in their home and be neighbors to this new development as well. We would ask that you use the staff's recommendation and the Planning Commission's recommendation and support the project. Thank you.
Matthew Bushman, followed by Ken Lanning.
Hi, my name is Matthew Bushman. I'm in Heritage Hills. Probably like 3 or 4 issues I'd like to bring up. One would be just Ventura Lane. Everybody keeps hearing it mentioned over and over again. Following Jessica Hill, when they bought that property, it was designed for 22 houses. And we've asked people to come through our neighborhood on a Saturday when everybody's parked on both sides of the streets. It's almost single lane through our neighborhood. We're talking about kids, bicycles, etc. One reverse we've taken already is Bruce, Integrity Homes, came through and he was going to cut off one side of the street, put a fire lane on one side and a sidewalk on the other in order to get a fire truck through there and allow for traffic. That was backed off. I just see so many questions as to how to make this project work that I am asking you to say no to it as designed. Some of us are here looking for the best project. Some of us, it just scares me as a citizen. It looks like they're here for any project. One issue I have is the process. I think if you go to the website tonight and you link to that R44 project, it still has a circle in terms of what I'm supposed to be coming here to talk about tonight. This will be about the third or fourth time that there's been a meeting where we have been informed we have to call somebody to find out what's going on. At one time, all my neighbors thought that there was going to be no street through our neighborhood. Come to the meeting to find out only 6 citizens are here, to find out that is the proposal to go through the Ventura Lane that I just described. The other issue that I have here would be just the dollars. If you're going to put 180 some houses there and still be shy of what at least was our best guess at a tax revenue positive or neutral project, if you're going to jump it from 22 to 180 houses, I would like to see more of the burden being placed on this project than the rest of us with unforeseen or unintended consequences down the road. Some of the other issues that I want to bring up are just water quality issues, dumping that project into the river so close, historical issues, sound issues of all the trees coming down. Their own viewscape showed all those trees on River Road gone. Lastly, I would love to see an ombudsman, rather than see the developer come out to these community meetings and answer questions about what are our rights. To ask for 22, to ask for the dollars. Otherwise, we're just sitting here in the last few minutes trying to figure out how to build 180 houses on that project. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
The last citizen signed up to speak is Ken Lanning.
Good evening. I'm going to be very quick. I've lived in Spotsylvania County for 12 years, but just a couple of months ago, I purchased a new villa home in this river crossing area. And I just learned about all of this just a few days ago, so I come late to all of this. I don't know what to say about most of what's been discussed here tonight. I have mixed feelings about it, but I'm not going to talk about something that I don't know about. In the 12 years I lived in this county, 2 to 3 times every week, I've driven east and west on River Road. And the video that I just saw does not represent what this area looks like. It is not straight. There is a hill and there's a curve. The video doesn't have a hill, it doesn't have the curve. They also indicated that this entrance has been moved 50 feet west. If it moved west, it's further down the hill. I don't know how they eliminated the hill when they moved it 50 feet west. In my opinion, you cannot have this intersection at a place where there's a hill and a blind curve on River Road. And at the very least, if it's going to be there, there's got to be a right turn lane. What I hear people saying is that they're not even obliged to provide the left turn lane when you're coming west off Bragg Road. But when somebody comes up that hill and there's a car stopped there trying to make a right turn, you're going to plow into the back of that car. So there's got to be a right turn lane there as well so that people can get off River Road. Thank you very much.
Anybody else here who hasn't spoken would like to come up, please come forward. State your name, address, and you'll also have 3 minutes. And anybody else sitting out there who hasn't spoke, if you'd like to think about it, I'll call on you after he is finished.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Brett Betzel. I live at 1745 Heatherstone Drive. My wife and I have lived at this location for 14 years and have loved almost every minute of it. And I say almost because anybody who's been on Route 3 knows of the traffic woes. When we moved to this property, we did note that the zoning of the adjacent property, specifically that the Hill Farm was zoned for 22 parcels. It is not a shock to us that the property would someday be developed. Tonight, however, I rise in strong opposition to the project in its current form and the impact that it has not only on my family, but on every other resident of Spotsylvania County. To change the current zoning would be a breach of trust to all county residents, especially those in Heritage Hills or those of us anywhere near this property. 163 homes is ridiculously far, a long way from 22. The VDOT study shows that this project will dump 1,418 car trips a day onto Bragg Road and River Road, all of which you and I both know will head for Route 3, not Walmart. So, and in addition, the expansion of Fall Hill Avenue is going to put a lot more traffic at the intersection of Bragg Road and Route 3. Drivers coming off 95 and anyone already stuck in Route 3 traffic, which is already the majority of us in this area, are losers. We, my fellow county residents, are all going to be losers in this project if this goes forward. According to the Planning Commission, emergency services in this area are already at overcapacity. School resources are near capacity. The proffer issue is sleight of hand. I don't understand most of it, but I do know that we will be paying for it in the long run as county residents. This rezoning and subsequent project goes forward, only the selling property owners and Integrity Homes get to be the winners. You, me, and all of our fellow citizens get to be losers. In addition to the financial impact on taxpayers, the additional noise pollution, light pollution, stormwater runoff, loss of green space, and the expected 5 to 7 year build out on this project, it'll all be detrimental to our quality of life here. This project goes forward in this already overdeveloped area. It is a clear signal that we send to other potential residents that this is a place where the county administrators give little attention to the quality of life issues in Spotsylvania County. I, however, don't believe that you do not care. I believe that you are all dedicated to public service. Mr. Ross, I voted for you a week ago. I voted for you 4 years ago with the hope that the Parkway plan would be shot down, and it was, and I appreciate that. So, I hope tonight you will do the right thing for this county and deny this rezoning application. Again, if this rezoning is granted, the entire county and every one of our fellow residents lose. Don't make us all losers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak, please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Valerie Johns. I live in Mineral Springs Plantation, and I'm coming from the perspective of somebody who lives at the other end of River Road, traveling down the entire length of River Road from near Route 3 to up the hill and to the end of River Road onto Bragg Road. I had 2 teenage sons driving there every day, going to school and back from school. At that time, they went to school in town. There are a number of other people we know who work right in Fredericksburg town, and they drive back and forth over that road every day. I drive 6 times a week back and forth over that road to work and back. I'm really concerned about the safety issue. I have seen bikers, people on bikes along that road. I have seen runners. I've seen many walkers with their dogs. And frankly, you cannot see a thing going up that hill. It's very, very dangerous. The light, again, as everybody mentioned, makes it so that I would be very concerned from somebody who doesn't drive very much, and there are many drivers on that road that don't drive very often, and they avoid Route 3 and they come on that road, and they're basically going around the curves and just about, falling into the water. And I would be really concerned about having that intersection right there in the middle of going up that hill. I thank you for your time, and I'm just worried about the safety. I think it's a really bad idea. I just heard about this project tonight, and I thought, wow, of all the roads in Spotsylvania County, that is one of the most dangerous ones. And I would appreciate your considering not to put the project going through on River Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please come forward. And anybody else who's thinking, you can also queue up if you like to.
My name is Muriel May. I live at 5624 River Road, just a little bit down from the proposed intersection. And I'm not going to say anything new. I am also concerned about safety because we are so close to this, and because just what a lot of people have said of late, we've heard so many ambulances, fire trucks going down that road, and I just can't imagine adding a lot more traffic just a little bit up that hill. And then also, as was said, there's so many blind spots right now because of the sun rays, the time of the year, and just to try to fit all of this in and so many more cars. So I also ask that you consider the safety of the people on River Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, when you come forward, state your name, address, and you also have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Dane Karsher. I live at 5504 Heritage Hill Circle, and I appreciate the opportunity tonight. We've heard a lot. I'm going to be very brief. I think the developer has done a fabulous job trying to fit this project into the space that's available. I appreciate all the efforts that have been made, but that connector, I've heard people talk about rights and all kinds of things that I'm not sure are necessarily appropriate or accurate. That road that was zoned through Heritage Hills and Heatherstone that right-of-way was put there with the intent of servicing up to 22 homes, the by right of that property. It's very unfortunate that our roads in Heritage Hills are collapsing today just based on the little bit of traffic from the 88 homes in Heritage Hills. That road is not designed to support 1,400 cars. I think the entrance out on River Road from everybody who utilizes that access seems like a very bad idea. I have a lot of respect for the Hills. They've been terrific neighbors. I wish them all the best, but I really think that property or that access has to come out to Bragg Road to really be appropriate. And unfortunately, I just don't see any way from a safety standpoint that it makes sense. It's just my personal opinion. So, thank you.
But I do think that introducing the high occupancy housing here will dramatically and irrevocably change our community. Providing money for the community and just the ideal location, I don't think that it matches what we want to, and that we should wait or look for the best plan, not just the plan in front of us. I have concerns about the possible reduction in housing values for those of us who live there with the increase of all of these houses which will be put there. And I do believe that ultimately, the people who have spoken out, and with the utmost respect, the people who have spoken out in support of this have either been people who directly benefit from the sale of the property, who live in Heritage Hills but would not be affected by the property that would be driving around should access be granted, or who live on Bragg Road, who they certainly don't want the access right off of Bragg Road, so they don't want it coming out of their property. I think you've heard the majority of people do object to this for safety and for just the overall planning, and I respectfully ask that you guys vote no. Thank you very much.
My name is Andrew Mullins. I live 1 Hemlock Court in River Bluffs, and I think that this has been a really educational, informative meeting for me in particular, getting all the details. I wish I'd had the opportunity to do it earlier and get involved earlier, but I think the Hills should be able to develop their property, but they should have to develop all of their property. So if they want to go forward with this, they should have to consider their access through their property. I also looked at Google Earth while the brief was going on, and the terrain features, and with all due respect to the former VDOT engineer, there's a flaw in the perspective as it appears on the brief there, and I'm looking at it right here, and unless the road was cut through the existing road that goes through the assisted living area, that seems to be the perspective that's represented on the brief that was given. If it's actually to the west, then it is, as everybody stated before, it's on the crest of the hill. And if you just take a look at it yourself, very clearly how it is. So again, I think all the points were covered real well, but I just want to make sure that I understand this is a rezoning hearing. So the issue, although we've talked about all the emotional aspects of it, and there's two things. One, you're asking to rezone, and in the end, if I understand correctly, the county is not recouping the required proffers or revenue to support the impact on the area. The other aspect is where no one's even looking at the left turn aspects. You know, what will school buses, what will all the people that live there, why would they want to go to Bragg Road, deal with a light there, then go down to Route 3 and deal with a light there when they can just make a left turn and go down the River Road to Spotswood Furnace, et cetera. And so school buses in the morning, making left turns on a crest, et cetera. Fire trucks getting in and out. There's only one way now. Now you have to cut a chain to go through an area that's already developed. So other than that, those are my concerns. It just seems that there's a lot of flaws in the plan as it is, but I think the Hill should be able to develop it. They should just have to consider developing.
Thank you. Anybody else here wish to speak? Please come forward. Please, anybody else who's thinking about it?
Mary Lou Collier, Mr. Skinner's district. I do not live in this area. However, I feel like I need to put my comments to it. Road safety, you know you have a problem, and it's not been corrected by the way that the proposed developer has given you the plans. It needs to be sent back to the drawing board. You need to put a hold on this and get a revision on the road safety. If that requires involvement with VDOT, whatever, it needs to be corrected and readdressed. Don't approve something to think that it's going to be corrected down the road. It's a small problem, becomes a bigger problem, and before long, it's a catastrophe. Work on a small problem first, and that means get the road safety corrected. To the tot lots and trails of $191,000 price tag, that's kind of expensive. But I wonder, does that open it up to anybody in Spotsylvania County to utilize them? That needs to be noted in the covenants, and citizens of the county needs to know if it is available for them when it becomes available, that they can use it. The start-finish project, a 5 to 7 year build-out, when does it start? Anticipated start date? So many of these developments that have been approved, they haven't even begun, and it's been years and years, and we keep talking about jobs. Well, the jobs haven't been provided yet because these developments haven't even started. And in jobs, is the developer going to put in his contract a percentage of local citizens having these jobs? Not talk about, oh, well, we're going to hire locals. Make a percentage of guaranteed local citizens have these jobs. I say put this on hold until you can do road safety, a better job on the road safety, and not talk about it, but actually show what's going to be done about it.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My name is Cindy Emsch, and I'm actually the executive director at Spring Arbor. I don't live in that area, but I do work in that area every day. So speaking on behalf of H.H. Hunt and Spring Arbor, we are opposed to the project. We do, as stated before, have several elderly residents that still drive, and coming in and coming off of River Road poses a threat when you're adding that much more traffic in the area. And by putting that there, like I said, I work there every day, and I'm not as familiar with the neighborhood across the street from us. I'm just finding them out, but there's a lot of young children that live in that area, and for some reason they all kind of want to play on that hill. And so every day I've watched many young children roll a ball out in front of cars and go to chase the ball. So adding that extra traffic on that road as well is not a good idea. And I watch the speeding cars and the motorcyclists and go up and down that road every day. And I couldn't even fathom adding that extra drivers on the road. So I just wanted to come up and state for Spring Arbor and H.H. Hunt. Thank you.
Thank you. Going once? All right, seeing nobody else rise, I'll declare the public hearing closed. The applicant has rebuttal time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, other members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Charlie Payne with law firm Herschel Fleischer, and again, we represent the applicant. As always, we respect the opinion of our neighbors and our community. It's what makes us a great democracy, and we appreciate, obviously, their concerns, as you can tell by our past efforts to address those concerns, which I think have been extensive. And I think you recognize the fact that we have an applicant here and a property owner who cares about their community. I want to cover just a few things in rebuttal that were raised during the public presentation component of this. I mean, one, the improvements, I think we're not going to disagree with anybody in this room that the current conditions are not acceptable at that location. I think what's being missed here is that the proposed improvements that, by the way, were not required under our TIA to be made, improve that corridor significantly, especially the sight lines, and bring it to VDOT specifications at no cost to taxpayers. I think we're missing that point tonight. The emergency access has been discussed. It's gated. Only emergency services will have the ability to go through that area on Ventura Lane, so there will not be any cut-through activity. The level of services on River Road remain the same. We're contributing very little traffic going west based on our traffic study. This is not going to be, these are folks coming into their homes from work, going west and turning in and leaving to go east, to go to work, to eat, and shop. Growth, I hear it all the time at public hearings, and I respect people in this community extremely. Spotsylvania County in the past 4 years has issued 1,342 occupancy permits. It's about 332 occupancy permits per year. It's not a lot of growth, and there has been a lot of growth in this area. In fact, this is one of the last infill development potential opportunities in that area. Anything further west on River Road is not planned for high growth. It's not in the primary development boundary area. It's not planned for water and sewer. This is it. This is the last infill location in this particular area. It's consistent with the comp plan, and as the Hill family representative, their daughter stated this evening, I think it's very important. They were here well before many others. They complain about the growth on Route 3. They complain about the road on Bragg Road. They saw it as a benefit to their community. What they're doing is not unlawful. What they're doing is not wrong. What they're doing is what any property owner, and I know that this board protects the property rights of the citizens in this community, would do, and it's reasonable. And it's consistent with your comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance. And it's consistent with the surrounding growth in a particular area. And the type of homes that will come in will benefit the community. They will increase the values of surrounding properties. They will spend money in your community. They won't cost you per unit from an operating cost perspective. They are a plus. And I know this board recognizes good projects. The project does generate significant revenue. The average price will be $425,000 for the single-family detached unit, about $240,000 for a single-family attached unit. Our fiscal impact analysis shows a very positive annual net revenue. That's using market prices, not negative or old, out-of-dated excess values. This is the highest profit package I believe that this board has seen per unit for a purely residential project. This project also provides necessary infrastructure to this area, as I stated on River Road, and with the new sewer pump station, at no cost to taxpayers. That has to be done in some point in the near future anyways. Again, respect the opinion of our neighbors. My client has been working on this for close to 2 years now and working with the community. We believe that we address the access issues with Heritage Hills. The River Road access works. It's consistent with VDOT specifications. It's consistent with the level of services that are required. It improves that corridor. So to take the position that we are providing something that's going to be adverse to our community is not accurate. And I'm sorry, I respectfully disagree. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. There's been a lot raised tonight, a lot of questions. If the board deems it appropriate, we would be open to tabling this so that we can address those issues. and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Mr. Cibula.
Yes, Mr. Payne, one of the things that I heard raised by the public this evening that I don't believe has been addressed, at least it hasn't been addressed in my mind, and that is the ingress egress for the construction equipment. You could perhaps explain that a little bit.
But the construction activity would be coming in through our River Road access.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Board.
Before you make a motion, I did have a couple of comments, if you don't mind, unless there's other comments to be made. You know, I listened to everybody that's out there, and I think that what it comes down to is safety on River Road. I know that the applicant, according to the applicant, there's $650,000 odd of road improvements that will be done to facilitate their upzoning. Currently, as it stands, if there were to be the by right, there would be no road improvements whatsoever. One other thing that I kept hearing from folks was that River Road is incredibly dangerous. There's lots of issues with it, and yet we're not spending one dime on River Road in our 6-year plan whatsoever. So I'm a little confused here that we want to improve the road, and yet I don't know how you go about paying for those improvements when VDOT new road construction money for the next 6 years is tied up. I also hear that River Road is used as a bypass for Route 3, and with or without this project, River Road will continue to be a bypass. I do like that the applicant has spent as much time and effort coming up with an entrance, because regardless of how many homes are there, it only takes one on a poorly aligned River Road to have a terrible accident, and yet a left turn lane does not stop that. We cannot stop that. That is how if it is a by right use, the connections are there. So the likelihood of that situation whatsoever. So I'm a little confused that there's a River Road being used as a bypass, but yet let's not make any improvements to it. You know, there's only one way in this situation that improvements are being done in Massaponax. There's massive bond referendums and massive projects that have been approved down there, tens of thousands of car trips, and yet the dollars that are needed to fix this are coming from the developer. I would let you know also that the last 2 major roads that were built in the county, connection roads, were Spotsylvania Parkway and South Point Parkway, both paid for by the developer. So the state's not giving us any money. We're going out and trying to bond money to try to get some road improvements done. Proffers do come in, but they're simply not enough. So to find traffic improvements, there is a balance. And I would much rather see a little upzoning go on and improvements done than a by right go in there with absolutely nothing done to that intersection and that stretch of road and no money in the future to do so. Thank you. Mr. Ross?
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry, Mr.
Sorry, I'm going to go back to one of my original questions, and just listening to most folks don't seem to be against the development, they're just against the access to River Road. Is it absolutely off the table to go to Bragg Road? I guess that's a question to the developer.
Mr. McLaughlin, again, Charlie Payne with law firm Herschel Fleischer, represent the applicant for the record. Just to reiterate my prior comment, There is a future planned access to Bragg Road from the development. It's just going to be longer term and not near term. Again, the alternative site to River Road was done to address the concerns at Heritage Hills. So we do have a second access, an intended second access through Heritage Hills through Ventura Lane. But that was, we pivoted from that to address the concerns of the Heritage Hills residents. And that's why we are where we are.
So just on that, just to follow up real quick is, because if you go with the plan as presented, there'll be access to River Road and then a future planned access to Bragg.
Right.
And we just talked about River Road needing repairs in the future. Why don't we put the access to Bragg with a future connection to River after River's been updated or upgraded to a potential future?
Well, a couple of reasons. I think one, I just stated the main reason why we're not connecting now. And then secondly, the Hills desire to live on the site for the rest of their lives. And that's their right.
Okay, Mr. Ross?
Okay, I've got a couple comments. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It is great to get citizens' input, and thank you for the developer. I know you have made several changes. Brian, could you bring up the floor computer, please? While I'm talking, I just wanted to play, this is the intersection you can see is right where the cars are going by. This is a video I took, and this is standing up, so I'm probably a little bit higher than a car. And you can see that left-hand turn. And I know this entrance has been moved further to the west by about 50 feet, so it might get a little better. But I just wanted to show my fellow board members. You can keep that playing, Brian, while I talk. And I heard a lot of good comments tonight. I do want to say that about a little over 24 acres of this proposed rezoning is outside the primary development boundary. And by our own future land use map is classified as low-density residential and rural residential, which is far from the 184 homes that are proposed. Additionally, 163 lots with one access to River Road, which is a scenic byway. And as you're seeing here, just see how quick those cars come up. My biggest concern is somebody taking a left-hand turn into this proposed area and getting T-boned from somebody coming up the hill. And I'll talk about safety in a second. It was also mentioned, well, let me make sure I get everything covered here. I think traffic is a concern. So right now, when you're heading out Route 3 West, one of the speakers tonight talked about how bad Route 3 is already. And adding 1,400 cars, when you're heading westbound on Route 3 from I-95, the Carl D. Silver intersection and the Bragg Road intersection are the worst intersections on our commute, on anybody's commute back. I don't see adding 1,400 trips a day as something that's going to help our traffic. And unfortunately, at that location, there's no way to improve it. There's no, no matter what you do, you're limited. You've got Central Park there, and there's no other way to get out of there. And by the way, I would like improvements on River Road. I'd like funding for maybe wider shoulders at least, especially when you have hikers going down there. And the improvement that's being proffered is only needed because of the housing situation or this 183 homes. It's not something that's actually going to improve River Road here. It wouldn't be needed at all if we didn't have this coming through. That was actually county staff going by. Who was out there? They were at the speed limit. You saw them going. And I must say, my final thing is about safety. And it was brought up many times. So over the past 2.5 years, there's been 26 crashes on a River Road, 4 of them fatal, right? 14 injuries and 8 with property damage. My concern as a supervisor, and it got brought up many times here, is safety. I would not let my oldest daughter, who's now 19, she had a friend that lived down on River Road, I would not let her drive River Road at night. Because it is, and this is River Road going down. I think this is coming back up the hill now. You can see it's not, the sun angle is not there, but you can actually see the sun coming in off a windshield here of this car coming up the road. And you're going to see how fast, I think this guy next guy comes across the center line. Somebody was talking about it being like a runway. This is not a simulation. Looks like I'm over the center line or two. So we talked about the traffic fatalities. The speed limit is 35 out there. I had a stealth camera put out there by Sheriff Harris over the past 3 years. 80 miles per hour was the highest person on that radar going out on River Road. I'm not sure if that's this area or not. And with that, I'm just going to let it go, get up to the top of the hill here, and you can see how quickly this comes upon you. And again, there's a guy coming over the left-hand, the center lane. It is a windy road. It is dangerous. And here's where the intersection is, right? Boom, there, where the car is. That's how quickly you come upon it. And then this is out by Spring Arbor. So you can cut the video, Brian. So with that, again, I thank everybody for coming out, but I make a motion to deny R140014.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor to deny. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote on the motion.
Five yes, with Mr. Yakubowski voting no and Ms. Heidig not present.
All right. Thank you very much, Board. Mr. Taylor, it seems that we have come to the end of our agenda.
Mr.
But we
Chairman.
do have Mr. Skinner. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'd like to extend the same comment I made earlier because I don't think everybody was on TV. I got a call earlier today to donate money to the fire department and fire department organization. And my one question I asked them was how much of the money I donate goes to the fire department? The answer was 12%. All right? And the reason I'm bringing that up here tonight is that we get these calls all the time. And I want the citizens of Spotsylvania to understand that what they need to do is when somebody calls you like that, before you donate, make sure you understand how much of your money is actually going to the fire department. Because it's certainly 88% going to administrative fees are just absolutely ridiculous. So I ask everybody to be cautious out there. And I will also tell you, if you want to really donate to the fire department, Spotsylvania or emergency services, you can go to our website, Spotsylvania website, okay, and they will direct you to each one of those organizations, EMS or even the fire department. So that way you know 100% of your money is going to the fire department. So, Mr. Chairman, just wanted to bring that up because I know people were not watching TV at 3:30 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Skinner. Anything else from the board?
No, Mr. Chairman, just a reminder that the board's next work session is November 24th, 2015 at 6 p.m.
And also the VRE opening is Monday at 10 a.m.? That's the ribbon cutting.
The ribbon cutting is Monday at 10 a.m. The first train out of Spotsylvania Station is Monday morning at 4:55 a.m.
Right.
4:57 a.m.
Anything else from the board?
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Please vote. See you in a little bit.